Good morning, Year 6, Miss Joinson here, and today in maths we are going to be converting decimals into fractions. So, by the end of the lesson we will be able to convert decimals into fractions and also simplify those fractions where possible. Okay, so to warm our brains up this morning, we are going to have a look at these questions here. So number 1, what number is represented in the place value chart? Write it in words and numerals. So numerals just means digits, okay, just using those numbers. So I can see that I have got no tens and no ones, but I do have tenths and hundredths. So I'm going to start off with 0 point. I have got 1, 2, 3 tenths and I have got 2 hundredths. So my answer is 0.32. So that is in numerals. So in words it would be 0.32. Okay, nice and easy for that one to get your brains working. Number 2 then, what fraction is represented on the bar model? Can you write it as a decimal? So let's have a look at this bar model. Now you might not be able to see it on your screens, the colour is not very bright. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So our numerator is going to be 9. And our denominator is going to be 10 because there are 9 parts shaded in out of 10. Now, if we read that as a fraction, that would be 9 tenths. So I know if I just use my place value chart here, I had 9 tenths in this column here, because remember this is our tenths place value column. As a decimal, it would be 0.9, okay? Because you've got 0 ones, but you have 9 tenths. So 9 tenths is a fraction, and 0.9 is the equivalent decimal. And then number 3, what is the value of the digit 5? So in this number here, you have got 46.95. So if we look back at our place value grid, we would have 4, 6, decimal point, 9, 5. So the underlying number is the 5. That 5 is in the hundredths column. So it would be 5 hundredths. Okay, I hope that all makes sense for you and that we are now ready to move on to your maths lesson. Okay, so very similar words from the last couple of weeks. The only extra one that we've got today is fraction and convert. Okay then, so here, this is going to be your guide today for some of your questions. So we have got 0.1 in the middle. Now 0.1 is the same, that is just being typed into words there, so 0.1. 0.1 is the same as 1/10, okay? So that is also in words, but then 1/10 is shown there as a fraction. So it also means it is 1 out of 10. So for example, this bar model here has had 1 part shaded in out of 10. Okay, each part is worth 0.1, which is 1/10. Okay, so 1/10 equals 0.1. So what do we think 6/10 would be? So we've already got 1/10 shaded in. So if we had 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10. So if we added all of those tenths up together, we would get 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. Okay, so then hopefully you should see a pattern now, because you have got 6/10. So up here you would have 6 in your tenths column and you would have 0 in your ones column. There we go. So that answer there would be, and your decimal point, 0.6. Now for this one here, you've already been given the decimal, you need to work out the fraction. So if we know that 6/10 equals 0.6, 1/10 equals 0.1, we should be able to find out that the 0.7 is the same as 7/10. Okay, so that's if your a decimal point is in the tenths place value. Now we're going on to our hundredths. Okay, so here we've got 100 square. So let's work out what this would be as a fraction first. So each full line is worth 10. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we have got 19 out of 100 shaded in. Okay, so to say that as a fraction, it would be 19 hundredths. There we go. Okay, so that is our fraction. Now to convert that into a decimal, we would need to have 0 is our ones, our decimal point. Now because 19 is a 2-digit number, we've still got to have that 1/10 to make 19. Okay, now you should be able to see a difference between the out of 100ths and out of 10. So if it was out of 100, you would only have one number after the decimal point, because we're just looking after, sorry, if it was out of 10, it would be just one decimal point after, one digit after the decimal point. Getting my words all mixed up here, because it is just part of the 10th place value. Now, if we go into, if it's out of 100, there are going to be two numbers after the decimal point, okay? Just try to always remember how many zeros there are, all right? And that's how many numbers there will be after the decimal point. Okay then, so let's have a look at this one here. We have got a full line of 10, that would be another 20, that would be 30, and I can automatically see that another one of those would be 40, but we're subtracting one because we've only got 9, so that is 39 out of 100. So to do that as a decimal, we've got to put our 0 in, we haven't got any ones, and then we've got 3/10 and 9 hundredths, so 0.39. And then moving on to this one, we have got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, okay? So it would be 60 out of 100. Now, because my answer ends in a 0, I can, if I can just get rid of that line, I can cancel out a 0 from the 60 and cancel out a 0 from the 100. Now you can only cancel out zeros if both numbers end in a 0. Okay, so your numerator and denominator ends in a 0. So that new fraction is now 6/10, and we know that 6/10 from our previous slide there is 0.6. Okay, and that is exactly the same. Even though we've got out of 100, the zeros cancel each other out, so they've been divided by 10, and that still is the same. Okay, because if we wanted to, we could make it 0.60, which would be still correct. However, we don't normally put a 0 in after the decimal point unless we have a thousandths column. Okay, so your work today then is you are going to convert decimals to fractions. So you are going to have a go at these questions here. You have got 6 questions altogether. Now I know some of you may find it a little bit tricky where it says shade in if you cannot print out the worksheet. But please just have a go at doing the sentence part and then writing the decimal as a fraction. Okay, always remember your 0.1 is the same as 1/10. That will really help you. Okay then, so you can pause this video here now while you complete your maths work, and then come back to it when you have finished so we can move on to your problem solving and reasoning work. Okay, so problem solving and reasoning today. So we're still looking at converting decimals to fractions. So this question here, find the digits represented by the symbols. Clue, The star is half of the sun. I love these questions. I do really get your brain working. So I can see here that there are 2 numbers after the decimal point, and there are 3 numbers as our denominator. Now, from our previous lesson this morning, if there are 2 numbers after the decimal point, I know that is going to be in our out of 100. Okay, because this number here goes all the way to our hundredths column. So my triangle, I'm going to say, is 1. The hearts, I'm going to say that they are 0. So my number is out of 100. Now, I've already got a heart here, so I need to just fill out that 0 for that number there. Now, we have got the star is half of the sun. Okay, so for example, we could have 2. What's double 2? We know that that is 4. That would be 42 out of 100. All right. Star is half of the sun. 2 is half of 4. Are there any other possibilities? So if I start from 1, I know that 1 is half of 2. So it could be 0.21. I know that 3 is half of 6. I know that 4 is half of 8. And if I wanted to do 5, I know that 5 is half of 10. But 10 wouldn't fit in because we've only got one number there, 1 digit. Okay, so there are some possibilities that you may use. So the other question that we have is May says 0.84 is less than 8 tenths. Is she correct? Prove it. So we need to make both of these into decimal points so we can work out whether she is correct or not. Now, from our previous lesson this morning, we know that 8 tenths is the same as 0.8. Now, if we compare those numbers, we've got 0.84 and 0.8. We've both got 8 in the tenths column. However, this number here has got 4 in the hundredths column. We haven't got any numbers in our hundredths column here. So if there are more numbers after the decimal point, the number is smaller. So 8.84 is less than 0.8. Is she correct? Prove it. So we should be able to answer that question now. Okay, so if we look at this number here, we've got 0.84. Now, I've just made a silly mistake. It's a good job I had to just go and check my work. 0.84 is closer to 1 than 0.8. Okay. So, is she correct? No, she is incorrect. Because 0.84 is closer to 1 than 0.8. Okay. Because if we do our working out, if we had 1 as a whole number and we subtracted 0.84, we would get an answer that would be smaller than 0.8. Okay then, so your work today is problem solving and reasoning. You are converting decimals to fractions. So you've got, for bronze, you have got questions 1, 2 and 3. You've got those similar questions like what we've just done there. For silver, you've got questions 4, 5 and 6. And for gold and platinum, you've got questions 7, 8 and 9. Now these questions are tricky on questions 7, 8 and 9. Okay, so if you do need any help or support, email your teacher, either myself or Miss Davis Moore, and we will be able to get back to you. Either ourselves or Miss Vaughan or Mrs. Lawton will get back to you. Okay then, good luck, and I hope you are able to get on okay with working out decimals as fractions. Have an amazing day, Year 6. Bye.